Imagine if what we casually call extrasensory perception, or, the sixth sense.
Right, the stuff usually reserved for sci-fi.
Exactly. Imagine if it wasn't some parlor trick or magic or, I don't know, a mystical phenomenon. Imagine if it was a completely measurable consequence of thermodynamics.
And literally the flow of time itself, which is wild.
It really is. Today, we are taking a deep dive into this fascinating stack of source material, looking at the declassified style blueprints of Russian astrophysicist Dr. Nikolai Kozyrev.
Yeah, we're basically going to unpack how he connected the death of stars to human consciousness.
And how he left behind these incredibly specific instructions for building a literal mirror to reflect and concentrate time.
Which, I mean, completely flips the script on how we view reality.
Yeah.
Instead of looking for ghosts or spiritual anomalies, Kozyrev forces us to look at hard physics.
Right.
It is a really dense, incredibly controversial body of work. But at its core, this is about how the universe balances its own checkbook, and how human biology might just be plugged directly into that cosmic accounting system.
I love that analogy. But to understand how we eventually get to ESP and these bizarre aluminum mirrors, we first have to look up at the stars.
Because that is exactly where Dr. Kozyrev started his work as an observational astrophysicist.
Right, but before we get to the stars, we need to establish the baseline of traditional physics that he was kind of rebelling against. So we really need to talk about entropy.
Yeah, you really can't understand Kozyrev's radical theories without grasping the second law of thermodynamics.
Okay, lay it on us.
Basically, the second law states that in any closed system, entropy, which is just the scientific measure of disorder or randomness, it always increases.
Right.
Left to its own devices, a system never becomes more organized. It always, inevitably, decays into chaos.
Let me throw in an analogy here just to make sure we're grounded. Think of a campfire.
Okay, good example.
You start with a highly organized, dense, solid log of wood. You introduce a spark, it catches fire, and, well, it burns.
Yeah.
It releases heat, it releases light, and ultimately it turns into unrecoverable ash and smoke. You cannot unburn the log.
No, you can't.
The energy has spread out, it is permanently dispersed, and the disorder, the entropy, has irrevocably increased.
That is the perfect visualization, because the key word there really is irrevocable. The process just cannot go backward.
It's a one-way street.
Exactly. And for traditional physics, this reality carries a very grim implication for the entire universe.
The heat death, right?
Yeah. If entropy is constantly, unstoppably increasing everywhere, eventually all the usable energy in the universe will spread out so thinly that nothing can ever happen again.
Wow.
No new stars will form, no planets will orbit, no life. It will just be this cold, uniform, lifeless gas scattered across an infinite void. Physicists call this the heat death of the universe.
But Kozyrev is looking through his telescopes in the mid-20th century, observing the cosmos night after night, and he says, hold on, I don't see a dying universe.
He really didn't. He looked at the cosmos and saw a universe absolutely brimming with life.
Limitless variety, continuous renewal.
Right? Stars were dying, certainly, but they were also being reborn in these spectacular ways. He saw no trace of this impending thermal death.
No universal decay.
None. And this huge contradiction is what pushed him to make a massive, radical leap regarding binary star systems.
Yeah, this part of the source material is genuinely fascinating to me. He spent a significant amount of time observing these double stars.
The pairs that orbit a common center of mass.
Exactly, but they are separated by massive, just incomprehensible distances. Initially, when these pairs form, they aren't identical. One is the primary, one is the secondary.
There.
But over millions of years, Kozyrev noticed a pattern. The secondary star progressively begins to mimic the primary star.
It starts matching its brightness, its precise radius, and even its specific spectral type.
Which is crazy.
It behaves as if the primary star is actively transmitting its structural blueprint to the secondary star across the void of space.
Wait, I need to stop you there. Because if we are talking about distances that span solar systems, traditional forces like gravity or electromagnetism, they drop off exponentially the further out you go, right?
Oh, absolutely. They can't explain how these massive bodies are communicating with such high-fidelity detail across a galaxy.
So what exactly is the mechanism he is proposing? Because without a physical mechanism, this just sounds like, I don't know, celestial telepathy.
It totally sounds like magic. That is, until you look at the missing variable he introduced to the equation.
Okay, what is it?
Kozyrev concluded that the missing force transmitting this information was time itself.
Time.
Yes. He argued that time is not just a passive, constant ticking clock in the background of reality. He proposed that time is an active physical property of the universe.
So it's an actual substance.
In a way.
Yeah.
He said it has a density, it carries energy, and it can be actively emitted or absorbed by physical matter.
So when an irreversible event happens, like our campfire log turning to ash or a star burning billions of tons of hydrogen, it doesn't just change the physical matter, it literally impacts the density of time around it.
Precisely. Kozyrev believed that to prevent the heat-death scenario, the universe employs a cosmic balancing mechanism.
Okay, how does that work?
When entropy increases in one location, like that star violently burning, it radiates a physical wave. That wave travels through the vacuum, carrying the energy of that lost order.
Like a shock wave.
Sort of. And eventually, that wave is absorbed somewhere else, causing an exact opposite shift.
It decreases entropy.
Exactly. Decreases entropy at the absorption site, restoring order and keeping the total entropy of the universe perfectly balanced.
The universe isn't dying because time itself is acting as the counterbalance to entropy. Yeah. That is just a staggering concept. Now, the text refers to this balancing force as a torsion wave. How exactly does a torsion wave work?
To visualize this, imagine dropping a spinning top into a calm bowl of water.
Okay, I can picture that.
It doesn't just create flat ripples that move outward. The physical rotation of the top creates a vortex, like a twisting whirlpool in the water.
Right, because it's spinning.
Right. So Kozyrev realized that if time has a physical density, then space must have a twisting quality to it. Every single mass particle that spins from an electron to a massive burning star produces a twisting effect in the fabric of space-time.
And he called these twisting accelerations torsion.
Exactly.
So when entropy increases, when our log burns and order is lost, it radiates this twisting whirlpool of time energy.
And the theory breaks this down into two distinct mechanical types of torsion.
Okay, let's go through them.
First, you have right-handed torsion, or SR. This is emitted when a system loses order and entropy increases.
Okay.
In this state, Kozyrev says time becomes thin. The system is forcefully emitting time outward.
Got it. So burning a log emits right-handed torsion, time gets thin, pushing outward.
Then, when that wave travels across space and is absorbed by another body, it creates left-handed torsion, or SL.
The opposite.
Exactly. This is where entropy decreases, where order is actually restored or increased. In this state, time becomes dense. The system is actively absorbing time.
Think about what this implies for you, the listener, sitting in your car or at your desk right now. The text connects this massive cosmic astrophysics concept directly to human biology.
It really brings it down to earth.
It mentions that torsion acts almost like an electric charge that can be transferred and stored in biological material, and it specifically ties this to something called biophotons.
Biophotons are fascinating. They're incredibly weak, but vital emissions of literally tiny packets of photons that originate deep within our DNA.
Like glowing DNA.
Essentially, yes. They're entirely natural, helping govern cellular communication, growth, and metabolism. But here's the crucial link. The creation and emission of these biophotons involve angular momentum.
Meaning they spin.
They spin. And according to Kozyrev, every time a spinning biophoton is produced in your DNA, a tiny torsion wave is also generated.
Which implies our DNA is actively generating these twisting waves of time density. We aren't just reacting to the universe.
No, our bodies are actively writing the universe's code on a microscopic level.
That is wild.
Russian researchers have taken this framework and linked it to what Western science often dismisses as subtle energy.
Right.
It provides a theoretical, physics-based foundation for phenomena like auras, energetic sensitivity, or even long-distance healing.
So it's not magic, it's torsion.
If your DNA is constantly broadcasting and receiving torsion waves, then this energy flows through our bodies, interacting directly with our nervous systems and our consciousness.
I mean, I love a good theoretical physics debate, but I'm struggling a bit to see the jump from telepathic binary stars to measuring human subtle energy.
It's a big jump, for sure.
It is one thing to look at a telescope image from millions of light years away and deduce that torsion waves must exist. It's another thing entirely to capture them. Did they actually prove this invisible twisting force exists in a controlled laboratory setting?
They absolutely tested it, using highly specialized instruments designed to isolate this specific force.
Okay, how?
They used what are called asymmetric torsion pendulums. Imagine a delicately balanced device suspended by a thin quartz fiber.
Like a really sensitive mobile.
Yeah. with a short arm holding a small weight and a long arm holding a larger weight, and to ensure they weren't just measuring room drafts, temperature changes, or magnetic fields.
Because that would ruin the data.
Exactly. They placed this pendulum inside a sealed vacuum chamber, which was inside a Faraday cage, which was surrounded by a thermal shield.
Wow. So it is completely fundamentally isolated from normal physical interference. No wind, no heat, no electromagnetism.
Completely isolated. And then, outside of that isolation chamber, they introduced sources of changing entropy to see if the pendulum inside would react to the localized shifts in time density.
And the substances they used are almost hilariously mundane. The text mentions evaporating acetone, like literal nail polish remover. What is the actual link there?
It seems mundane, but evaporation is a highly irreversible entropic process.
Right. The liquid turns to gas.
As the liquid acetone violently turns into a gas, its molecules scatter, occupying a larger volume. Order is lost. Entropy rapidly increases.
Okay.
According to Kozyrev's mechanics, this messy process must emit time and produce right-handed torsion.
And when they placed the evaporating acetone near the isolated chamber, what happened to the pendulum?
The evaporating acetone physically repelled the mass on the long arm of the pendulum. It pushed it away.
It pushed it away through the Faraday cage.
Yes.
Why? If time is getting thin, why does that create a pushing force?
Think of thin time like a high-pressure weather system radiating outward. The system is rapidly losing order and violently shedding time energy.
So it's an outward wave.
That wave of emitted time physically presses against the mass of the pendulum, pushing it away from the source of the entropy.
Unbelievable. And they tested the exact opposite, right? Introducing order instead of chaos.
Yeah, they tested the reverse using freezing ice.
Because freezing makes things orderly.
Exactly. Freezing is a nigentropic process. The chaotic water molecules slow down, they align into a rigid crystal lattice, and entropy decreases. Order increases.
So it absorbs time.
Yes, creating left-handed torsion.
So time gets dense. How did the pendulum react to dense time?
When freezing ice was placed near the chamber, it exerted a mild, attractive force on the pendulum. It steadily drew the mass toward it.
Okay, again, we have to ask the mechanical why here. Why does dense time pull?
Because the freezing ice is absorbing time, creating a dense, localized pocket in the fabric of space.
Like a dent in a mattress.
Yes, it essentially creates a tiny, invisible gravitational valley. Yeah. The pendulum isn't being magnetically pulled, it's falling down the slope of that localized time density.
That is fascinating.
And what's crucial here is that this attractive force was found to be entirely independent of the physical mass of the object. It wasn't standard gravity.
So the same invisible force that allows two giant stars to match their spectral types across the galaxy is also pushing a pendulum away from evaporating cleaning fluid in a Russian laboratory.
That's the theory.
The text mentions this led to a concept they called biogravity.
Since the 1960s, this concept of biogravity, or torsion-induced gravity, has been proposed by these researchers as the missing mathematical variable in astrophysics.
They think it explains dark matter, right?
Dark matter, dark energy, and even anomalies in our own space program.
Like what?
For instance, why certain NASA satellites haven't traveled on the exact trajectories predicted by standard Newtonian physics as they move into the outer solar system.
Oh, like Pioneer or Voyager?
Exactly. The argument is that traditional physics is simply ignoring the physical force of time density pressing against those satellites.
If time is an actual physical wave bouncing around the room right now, created by every changing temperature and spinning molecule, the obvious question is, why can't we feel it?
Which is exactly why Kozyrev realized he needed a lens. If these torsion waves are ubiquitous, you need a way to capture, isolate, and magnify them to study how they interact with human consciousness.
Which brings us to the most infamous part of his work, the Kozyrev Mirror.
Yes.
It's not a mirror made of glass that you look at your reflection in. It is a highly calibrated architectural structure designed to catch and concentrate these twisting waves of subtle energy.
It is quite a piece of hardware.
The source text gives us the literal blueprint specifications from a Russian patent RU 2122446.
It's very specific.
Reading it feels like looking at an IKEA manual for unlocking the universe. It is incredibly rigid about the materials. You absolutely must use highly conductive, pure aluminum alloy.
Yeah, the author explicitly warns against cutting corners. No steel, no glass, no wood covered in aluminum foil.
You can't just hack this together in your garage.
And he writes quite passionately, Don't even think of using plastic materials, for God's sake.
So you need exactly 9 plates of this pure aluminum. They have to be incredibly thin, exactly 0.5 millimeters thick.
Super thin.
And they stand 280 centimeters, which is about 9.18 feet high. You aren't building a tabletop device here. You are building a room.
A very specific room. It has to form an outward spiral.
Now, I want to pause on the spiral shape to emphasize a crucial debunking from the text. Because if you search for Kozyrev mirrors online, you will inevitably find hundreds of videos claiming the device is based on the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio.
Oh yeah, those are everywhere. But the text makes it explicitly clear. It is not Fibonacci.
Thank you.
The use of a spiral in nature or architecture does not automatically equate to the Fibonacci sequence. The dimensions provided in the Russian blueprint, the highly specific distances from the center point to the various curvature points on the aluminum plates, they do not follow that mathematical progression.
So it's not an aesthetic choice?
Not at all. Kozyrev's design was strictly dictated by complex calculations of time density curvature, not visual or mathematical aesthetics.
Which raises the mechanical question, why this specific spiral, and what is the pure aluminum actually doing to the flow of time?
Well, torsion waves behave somewhat similarly to electromagnetism, even though they're a fundamentally different force.
Okay.
Highly conductive, pure aluminum happens to act as a perfect reflective surface for this specific type of energy. The spiral shape is a functional funnel.
It funnels the time.
It catches the ambient torsion waves radiating through the environment, and remember, they're everywhere, and bounces them inward.
Towards the center.
As the spiral tightens, it concentrates that scattered left and right-handed torsion, driving all of it toward a single mathematical center point.
The focal point. Which brings us to what actually happens when a human being steps inside this 9-foot-tall, highly calibrated aluminum funnel of time.
This is where it gets intense.
According to the instructions, you place a simple chair at the exact center, where the concentrated torsion energy is theoretically at its absolute maximum.
Okay, the instructions for the person sitting in that chair treat the experience with extreme clinical seriousness. This isn't framed as a relaxing meditation retreat.
Not at all.
The text mandates continuous, real-time medical monitoring by a professional.
It reads more like the protocol for a high-risk medical trial. You have to track the user's blood pressure, their heart rate, and their oxygen saturation, their SpO2, at least every 15 minutes.
Because if Kozyrev's theory is correct, you aren't just sitting quietly in a metal tube. You are placing your delicate physical body, your nervous system, and your DNA into a hyperdense field of concentrated time and torsion energy.
The safety warnings are intense. The session must be stopped immediately if the user experiences sudden dizziness, nausea, or excessive perspiration.
Yeah, they don't mess around.
If they feel discomfort, you halt it. If they recover, you can try restarting, but if the discomfort persists, you terminate the session entirely. You even have to have an emergency response strategy ready.
It's a lot of precaution.
But why? Why would sitting inside some bent aluminum plates cause a perfectly healthy person's blood pressure to spike or make them physically nauseous?
We have to link it back to the biophotons we discussed earlier.
The glowing, spinning DNA packets.
Right. If every biophoton in your DNA is constantly emitting and interacting with ambient torsion waves on a microscopic level, what happens when you suddenly flood that biological system with a massive concentrated dose of that exact same energy?
Oh, wow.
The body reacts physiologically to the sudden shift in time density.
It's like putting a microphone too close to a speaker and triggering a massive screeching feedback loop. But the feedback is happening inside your cellular structure.
Exactly that. Your cells, your nervous system, your brain, they're all suddenly overwhelmed, trying to process a massive influx of environmental information that usually just dissipates harmlessly into open space.
So the dizziness and nausea.
Are the body's physical reaction to sensory overload on a subatomic level.
Which finally brings us to the ESP connection. How does a subatomic feedback loop translate into extrasensory perception?
The mirror is simply an amplifier. It magnifies the subtle energy to a point where the human mind can finally perceive it consciously.
So it's not a hallucination.
In this framework, ESP is not a ghost story. It's not your consciousness magically leaving your body to travel the astral plane. It is your biology being flooded with the physical energy that connects all matter in the universe.
The torsion waves.
Right. If torsion waves carry the informational blueprints of shifting entropy, just like they carry the blueprint from the primary star to the secondary star, then the person sitting in the focal point of the mirror is suddenly able to perceive that information.
They are tapping directly into the universal accounting system.
Yes.
They are feeling the ripples of time density created by events happening miles or even light years away.
They are reading the waves. The mirror just turns the volume up loud enough for the human brain to hear the broadcast.
This entire framework is a profound shift in perspective. It challenges us to look at the foundational rules of reality and ask if we are missing a massive piece of the puzzle.
It really makes you reconsider everything.
Sometimes the anomalies that completely defy the established rules, like distant stars mimicking each other, or a pendulum violently swinging away from a bottle of evaporating acetone inside a sealed vacuum chamber, are the actual breadcrumbs.
Leading us somewhere new.
They lead us away from a mechanical, dying universe and toward a much bigger picture of how deeply connected reality actually is.
It demands that we stop viewing time as just a clock on the wall and start viewing it as the physical glue holding the cosmos together.
And that brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with today. A concept to mull over while you go about your normal routine.
It really recontextualizes our daily existence.
If Dr. Kozyrev is right, and if every single irreversible action in the universe emits torsion waves to balance cosmic entropy, what kind of ripples are you creating right now?
Seriously, think about it.
Just by the simple act of digesting your lunch, your body is breaking down matter, increasing entropy, and radiating time. By letting your hot cup of coffee sit on your desk and cool down, you are participating in the cosmic accounting system, creating dense pockets of time in your office.
Oh, connected.
Are we all, simply by the act of existing, organizing, and metabolizing, actively emitting time into the universe? Because if we are, then maybe that sixth sense isn't so extra after all. Maybe it's just the universe finally whispering back.